Last night a crucial decision was made in the 10-year saga to regenerate Elephant and Castle in London. A regeneration agreement was signed between Lend Lease and the new administration at Southwark Council, and they're all pretty upbeat about their relationship now going forward to regenerate some key parts really of this part of London. In particular the Heygate estate, which is now been decanted and is ready for demolition, and also the notorious Pink shopping centre at the heart of the town. We're here to talk to the leader of the Southwark Council, Peter John, about the agreement he's signed with Lend Lease and why it's good news for Elephant and Castle. Is it an easy decision to make for the Cabinet?
Well, it was an easy decision, Paul, because we wanted to see progress here at Elephant and Castle. One of the things that came across clearly during the local elections and why we won seats in this area on May the 6th was because we were hearing from people that they're fed up that there'd been no progress, and this has been a project which has been spoken about for 10 or 12 years. And actually, residents in this area, having seen the Heygate decanted and people there rehoused, want to see some progress actually on the ground. So it wasn't a particularly difficult decision in terms of having to make progress on this scheme, and it was made easier because we had got the three issues that we were most concerned about with Lend Lease and the heads of terms addressed. Firstly, on affordable housing and the inclusion of a minimum guarantee of that on that. Secondly, in terms
of 25%, but you say it should end up 35%.
Well, we're hoping it'll be 35% for sure. I mean, our planning policy should dictate that we get 35% affordable housing out of this scheme. But the absence of any minimum guarantee of affordable housing in the regeneration agreement was unacceptable to us. We needed to put some guarantee in there. Otherwise, there was the potential, unlikely though it might seem, there was the potential that we'd just end up with private housing in Elephant and Castle, and that was never the vision for this area. This was going to be a mixed community, and that's what we wanted to deliver.
Okay, and the shopping centre, obviously there's been concerns that had been pushed back, I guess, to the end of the development process and might even be forgotten about. Was perhaps one of your concerns beforehand. You've now kind of reached some much more confidence on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was again unacceptable to us that the shopping centre wasn't part of the regeneration agreement. When the vision for the regeneration of the Elephant and Castle was conceived all those years ago, it was a regeneration of this whole area and not just the Heygate estate. So it was essential that the shopping centre came into it. And we've now got to a point where if Lend Lease and St Modwyn's can't reach a deal between themselves, then the council will exercise its powers to compulsorily purchase the shopping centre.
And then the third issue you mentioned was the leisure centre. What sort of has changed there as well?
Well, we received a separate report last night on the leisure centre. And what I'm very hopeful of is that we will see a redevelopment on the current site of the leisure centre, probably with another developer, so some housing there, and as part of that housing we'll see a renewed leisure centre. So, it was really important to address that issue as well at the same time as showing people that there are going to be community benefits from this 15 years of building that people are going to see here.
And one other issue we focused on is the negotiations with Transport for London around. They are very keen to see major improvements to the tube station, and there's always been concerns over who would actually be prepared to pay for that. Do you know where that is now? Well, you do, obviously.
Well, we're at a stage where obviously we have a position on this as to who should be making various contributions to the improvement of the tube station. TfL obviously take a certain view, the Mayor of London takes another view, and what we said to TfL and the Mayor essentially is, let us get on, sign this regeneration agreement, then you can pour all over it, you can work out what you think this scheme can afford to give to the tube improvements, because we think the figures that we've been telling TfL are right. At the end of the day, this is a really major improvement to central London, with the regeneration of the Elephant and Castle, and I think the Mayor of London has to recognise that, and TfL have to recognise that and fund it appropriately, or put a contribution in which is appropriate. They can't expect us to pay for the whole improvement to the tube station.
When would you expect a decision? I suppose that's difficult.
That's going to be one of those ongoing negotiations, I dare say, over the next few years. I mean, it certainly does need to be upgraded, the tube station. I think everyone now accepts that we need to have escalator access instead of lift access. But whether we need it now or whether we need it 10 or 15 years' time when we might be in a better position, the country as a whole, to fund that sort of improvement. We'll have to wait and see.
And one last thing to ask you, obviously a lot of talk of public sector cuts, housing subsidy cuts, HCA itself cuts there in its own financial commitments. How will that affect elephants? Is that a concern?
We don't think it should affect elephant at all. That's one of the good things that we've got out of this deal. The risk as to any loss of housing subsidy now rests with Lend Lease, and that's why it's important they've given this minimum guarantee of 25% affordable housing in the scheme. So they bear that risk. It's not going to be in the public purse, and it shouldn't hold things up at all.
Okay, thanks very much for talking to us about that.
Thank you very much.